Hi guys, welcome to the very first episode of the new year of Beauty Pop. I'm Victoria with Jen. Happy New Year, everybody. We are 4 days into the new year as we're recording this. So I hope everyone had a great New Year's Eve. Did you? I know, Jen, I feel so bad even bringing this up because
so
Jen
sad.
was homesick.
I was. You know what? I'm hoping, though, that I get it all out of my system because I haven't been laid out sick. It wasn't COVID. It wasn't the flu. It's just been enough to be annoying. And you're kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. You know, that feeling where you're like, what's going on? What's going on? And then I had it really pretty on New Year's Eve. What kept me home was I had a double eye infection.
How did you even get that? Because I've never even heard of that.
Okay. So there's a story.
Is this a gross story?
No, well, I don't. Probably, if you think about it. No, I don't know. I was doing a lot of cleaning during my Christmas break, and I cleaned out my office, which hasn't been cleaned out fully. I'm talking shredding papers, going through drawers, going through closets, and because I only have a 2-bedroom house, that second bedroom gets a lot of everything, right?
Sure.
And I've got a studio in there. It's just everything, and so there's a lot of different things I had to go through, books and papers, and Ugh. And so I know I kicked up some dust because I was dusting things that hadn't been dusted in forever. And so I originally thought that I was just getting allergies. But then I found out that someone I'd been with before in the week had pink eye.
Oh!
So
no!
When my eyes started to hurt, I was like, oh, it's probably just that I was kicking up dust and, a shower will fix that. So, away I went. I ended up having to call the eye doctor. He never confirmed if it was pink eye or not, but I had 2 swollen eyes. It could have been allergies. We don't know. He gave me steroid drops, however, that cost $56. I think that's a lot.
Wow.
But they've helped. I'm still kind of blinking funny, but they helped and I'm feeling better. It's a slow progress. You know how when you don't ever actually get really sick, you just feel like you've spent days sniffling?
Yeah.
And it
you
gets
kind of wish it would
while.
just hit a peak, and then go away.
I'm thinking, kind of like in high school. I didn't peak in high school. I peaked after. I'm not going to peak on New Year's. I'm going to peak during the year. So
there you go.
Maybe I'm looking at it as good luck. And I will definitely pop a bottle of champagne when I'm feeling better to toast the new year. What did you do? You were actually out and feeling fine.
We actually went out, and because it had been 3 years of us sitting at home on the couch. So I said to Lewis, I was like, we've got to go out. I don't care where we go. We're going somewhere. And luckily in the apartment complex that we live in, it's like a mixed use space of, retailers and restaurants and apartments. And so one of the restaurants...
And not to blow the whistle on you, but you totally live in the Situation's old apartment building. So
yeah, if you're a fan of Jersey Shore, you saw a whole lot of where I live with Lauren and Mike, and they did live here.
Right.
And we found out when we first moved down here from Manhattan, we found out that Ronnie and Sam lived here too. And I had
together?
Yes. And I had just rewatched the original Jersey Shore, and I just binged through it before the holidays out of total boredom. I guess before holiday movies started, I had nothing to watch. So I had gone through all those old seasons, and I was like, so at the end of the Ron and Sam drama, when they end the show, they've broken up, they've gotten back together, they're together, they live together. That's the only thing that they allude to, is that we're living together. And then when when the show comes back 5 years later and they all go to Miami for the first family vacation and Sam's not there, Ron says, well, we were living together and we it didn't work out and blah blah blah. Well, basically Ron can't keep it in his pants, as we know. But they were living
cheating on her again.
Yeah, they were living here in the village where I live, and we found out from a bartender there's a little wine bar, which was also filmed in Jersey Shore, where Dina goes, oh, we're going to the classy part of town. And so they were, that's literally what she says. I'm like, oh God. So they were at a wine bar that's also here in the complex. And one of the bartenders there said, oh yeah, when Ron and Sam lived here, they fought all the time. And the guy was telling, and I was like, well, that's pretty in keeping. That's on brand for them.
Definitely.
So he said one night he was locking up, and the wine bar closes at 2 a.m. or 2:30 in the morning. It's the latest closing place around here. He said he heard people screaming in the parking lot, and there were no other cars. It was just his car. He's locking up. And it was a midweek thing. Like he said, it was really bizarre. And it was Ron and Sam screaming at each other in the middle of the parking lot. And Sam's like walking away, Ron, stop. And, like the whole thing. And he's chasing her and screaming. And they said, yeah, this bartender was just like, it was the train wreck that was the show. That's why everybody watched.
Gosh.
Oh,
but it was their real life.
But it was their real life. Thankfully, they're not together anymore. And he's been, he's gone on. Well, he already got rid of the new fiance. And so I don't even know.
She's done.
Is he even?
What was her name? Like Panda Bear or something?
Something like that. Is he ever coming back to the show? Because all he's posting.
I don't know. Is he even on social media anymore? I don't even see him on Instagram.
He's posting. The only thing he's been posting lately are pictures of him, like old pictures from the cast.
Oh, so maybe he's coming back.
I mean,
they're coming back.
Either that or he's super thirsty and he wants to come back like a housewife who's been fired.
Like, I'll take any of you old, used up Jersey Shore fans.
Like, when the housewives get fired, they're like thirstier than ever and they're like desperate to get back on the show. Maybe that's how Ron is. But here's one last tidbit, and I'm sorry, you can fast forward through this. We're going to get to beauty stuff in a minute if you're not a Jersey Shore fan.
Don't fast forward. It's good stuff.
It is true. Start watching Jersey Shore. That's the answer. Then get on our page. So the other night we were walking into the same little, it's like a gastropub kind of place. It's where we were for New Year's Eve. So we went back on Monday night because everything else was closed and we didn't realize it because New Year's Day was observed on Monday instead of Sunday. So we didn't plan for that. And that was the only place open. I'm like, okay. So we walk in, and as we're about to walk in, this guy comes walking out. It's like double set of doors. And he's just kind of like, he was just kind of rude. Like he didn't acknowledge us. Like he just kind of pushed the door open after Lewis was already starting to open it. And he kind of just plowed by us. And I was like, okay, whatever. And there was this girl behind him. And she was very like, kind of, I would say meek. It is like the personality I would give her. And she was kind of like, I'm really sorry. Like her head was down. Then she pulled her hoodie over her head. It was raining and they went outside to smoke. So like that was normal. But she was just very like, like smiley and kind of like apologizing for him, but like not real. Like it was weird. Something was going on. So we got through the doorway and we're waiting for the waitress to seat us. And I'm like, why does that girl look so familiar?
Tell me it was Angelina.
No, better. Well, in a different way. But like it took me a minute. And then I'm like, it's Paula. It's Mike the Situation's girlfriend before Lauren, who was on the show. Oh. It was Paula. And it took me a minute because she looks older now, but not, she looks the same.
Is.
She looks the same essentially, but she looks, like she had kind of a baby face back then. So she looks like more adult, but it was completely her. And I'm like, and it makes sense because she lived right near where the Situation grew up, which is only like 15
that
minutes
is so
from here.
funny. So you ran into the ex.
It was like, it took me a second maybe, and then it made me realize.
Props to you for recognizing
I'm really
her,
good
by
at
the way.
that.
That's good.
I'm really
You're good at that.
I need
to be better at that.
I am very, very good at that. Like when I had to work red carpets and interview celebrities and stuff, like I'd see the randoms coming 5 miles down the road. I'm like, all right, that person was in one episode of blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, like I'm good like that. So then I realized, I'm like, oh, maybe she thought that I recognized her and that's why she was acting so strange.
Oh, maybe.
And I'm like, because, how does she not know that
Mike... called her Lauren.
I know, right? But you know what? I wonder if she even knows that Mike lived here. She must know. I'm sure she watched the show.
If she watched the show, and she was probably all over that. If you did a show and you didn't do a show anymore and your ex-boyfriend was on that show, you're going to watch it.
And he kind of, honestly, like she was really good to him. And and having just rewatched all those episodes, I realized what a terrible guy he used to be.
He was not a good guy.
I'm happy that he seems fine with Lauren, and he was always really nice in the elevators and the hallways and stuff, and the staff here really liked him. He was very polite and friendly. But I realized, I'm like, oh my God, he was the worst boyfriend ever.
Yeah.
And then remember.
I think so. I think he was not a good person. I don't think he was a good friend. I think that he was really deep into that addiction.
Yeah.
And he was believing his own press, which is always a bad combination.
Yeah.
Because I remember watching that show going, how could anybody? And now if you do watch the new version, the family vacation where they're all older and he's been sober for, I think, 5 or 6 years now.
Yeah.
You love him. He's funny.
Yeah, he's great.
He's still great.
Yeah.
But man, he was nasty for a while. Ugh.
Yeah. And I always felt bad for Paula because he dumped her basically because she made a bunch of crude jokes. Remember, like, that's basically like what he was obviously looking for something to get rid of her, based on.
He just wanted out.
He wanted out, but like, he really, he did her dirty on national TV. It was actually, at that point, the show was so popular, that was international TV.
Right.
That spawned something
for
like
sure.
40,
people watch that show everywhere.
Yeah, there are like 30 or 40 knockoffs versions in every country. Yeah. Like it's wild. But yeah, so I thought you're my only friend who watches the show, so I knew you would appreciate that.
I'm very excited. That was a very nice brush with like a D-list celebrity, so that's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I can spot all the lists: D-list, D-, F.
That's why I need you in LA with me, so you can show people are so undercover here, like. I know. I mean, you can go to Trader Joe's and you can see people, and then you're like, but I don't even pay attention. Yeah. It's bizarre. I mean,
I lived in New York for a really long time, and the thing about New York is celebrities don't try to hide in New York. It's because they know no one's going to bother them. I mean, if they go to a real touristy place, then sure, everyone from the Midwest is going to be going up and approaching and saying, "Can I have a picture? Can I do?" So,
but the New York vibe is not really to bug people. No, so it's
yeah, the New York vibe is like, we're New Yorkers, don't get in our way. Because we're always running late.
Moving.
So yeah, the train will screw you over, the bus will screw you. Like, we're always running late, so just stay out of our way. Like, that's I don't care who you are. Thank you, George Clooney, Leo DiCaprio, whatever. We don't care. Just stay out of our way because you're making me later.
Keep moving, keep going.
Yeah, late for a reservation. So anyway, so that was our New Year's.
How exciting!
New Year's on the D list.
I love it. So you need a Kathy Griffin there or something.
Yes, I know, right? So we are going to do a little, since it's the first show of the new year, we figured we would kind of maybe recap some stuff that we bought in 2022, some products that we talked about on the podcast. And I think we addressed all of them, actually, now that I think about it, because I have two. So new products, new to you, new to your beauty world. What was your biggest star of 2022?
My product of the year, if you listen to this podcast, I mention it all the time, is a super bargain find, because you can get it at Target, you can get it at Amazon. I'm looking right now. Target has it listed for $4.99. So it's not going to cost you a lot of money. But even with this crazy eye infection, it has not upset my eyes, and I'm not able to wear eyeliner right now. So I'm just wearing the mascara, and I feel like it still looks good. I feel like I'm not missing anything. Essence Lash Princess False Lash Effect Mascara. It's the bomb. Do we still say that? It's my jam. Do we say that?
Sure.
And I've turned everybody in my life onto it. We say it all because I've turned everybody in my life onto it because it is very inexpensive. And I think it is the best mascara that I have used. And there are some that I love, like from Lancome and others that are really good. But I find for your money, all in all, that is the best product that I found this year. And yeah, I put it in everybody's Christmas stocking.
That's such a great gift.
So that everybody could try it.
That's a great idea. I went to Target after we did that first episode where you mentioned it. I went to Target and totally blanked on the name. And I think that you were on the air and I didn't want to bother you with like, what's the name of that mascara again? You're talking about important things.
Mascara tips.
But yeah, so Essence is the brand.
Essence is the brand. Okay. Lash Princess, and it's False Eyelash Effect mascara.
I have to get back to Target and try it.
It's great. And you can buy it in any formula. I bought the 4-pack, which had different formulas in it. At Ulta, it was $10. So I got 4 full-size mascaras for $10. And
but the one you liked the most was the...
I still like the original. It's the one with the blue package. Okay. It's just the regular formula. It's not the waterproof. But that's just my preference because my eyes are sensitive and sometimes waterproof just upsets me. This one didn't so much, but I think I'm just PTSD around waterproof mascara.
Well, and waterproof mascara, which, we talked about on when we did a whole episode on mascaras. But I mean, for me, I have to wear waterproof because my lashes are so straight. I don't have anything on right now. They're so straight that I look like my brother unless I wear like my brother and I look a lot alike. Everyone always thinks we're twins, but like, it's like you can't tell us apart unless I wear mascara. So yeah, so I definitely have to try your recommendation.
Got some definition here.
Yes, yeah. So I have to try that one for sure. But that's and
what about you? What did you like best?
My two. I'm a bit boring, but my two favorite new additions, and I have a bathroom full of stuff that as you do as well. We acquire these things all the time,
and I just got a bunch of.
And you've got the FabFitFun box, right? So you're getting more stuff.
got a lot of stuff, but I also got a lot of beauty stuff for Christmas this year. So
okay.
I have a lot to try. I have some new MAC products that I'm excited to try because I haven't tried MAC in a while.
I was just going to say I'm excited for that because I have not, MAC has not been in my world maybe 10 years.
I know. Not lately, but I got a bunch of things that I'm excited to try. I got some new skincare from Lancome and even from Estee Lauder, which I know sounds like your mom's brand,
right.
but I'm going to try them and see. So we'll see. I'll do a little experimenting. Typically, those kinds of gifts I might take back and try to get something that I'm more familiar with. But I decided for the podcast, we'll try them and see how they go.
This is the type of dedication I appreciate.
I appreciate the confidence you've bestowed upon me.
No, I honestly though, I can't wait to hear, especially about the MAC stuff, because that has, until you mentioned it, I don't even think I've thought about MAC for a long time.
Yeah, really pretty lip kits, and I think I got a highlighter. So I'll be going. I've unpacked it. I've added it to my stash of stuff.
Great.
So I'll start trying it and see and get back to you guys.
Excellent. I can't wait for that.
So back to you. I didn't mean to bypass.
Oh no, it's fine. So my two products are both Chanel, and I have always had. I mean, I guess I've had a bit of a prejudice against makeup or against fashion brands that get into the beauty space, right? So like Victoria Beckham, I have not tried any of her stuff yet, but it gets a lot of amazing reviews. So I know that she is creeping into the beauty space more and more, and it's people are giving a good reception to it. I have never trusted brands like Dior now Dior has gotten into the beauty space in a legitimate way with some of their products, but like I would never be the one until now. I have not been the one who's like, yeah, I need to pay $85 for a bottle of foundation from Chanel,
right?
Because you're paying for the label, and that's always been I mean that's always been my issue with those types of brands. When Giorgio Armani got into beauty, that. I remember seeing that. It was working on Fifth Avenue in the city, and I went into Saks, and like all of a sudden there was this new display of Giorgio Armani, and they had that first luminous silk foundation, which is a very light. It became a huge star for them, and a lot of celebrities started using it. Or makeup artists would use it on celebrities, and I used it for a while. It was nice. It's a very lightweight foundation. You have to really layer it on, but it has like a nice glow to it. But it wasn't something, and it was expensive, but it wasn't something that I thought like, oh, I need to keep this in my life. Until I went into Ulta, which is not even a store. I don't want to, no offense to Ulta, but I have a really beautiful new Sephora near me. That's my preference. But sometimes the way traffic, because in New Jersey, you can't make a left turn. I don't know if you've ever driven in Jersey, but it's one of these things that you literally you could go miles and miles and there is no way for you to make a left turn.
How do you have NASCAR races?
Well, that's all going left, right? Yeah. Do we?
I don't even think
do we even have, right? Do we even have a NASCAR track in Jersey? I don't know.
I don't know, but it made me laugh because you had to think that went through. You're like, left turn. Oh, yeah, that's all they do.
Yeah, still going left. Yeah. So, but that's funny because that's what we actually, we should be the state like that allows that. Yeah. So,
that's right.
Anyway, so so sometimes I have to, my point is sometimes I get forced into the Ulta, which is which is just heading in the direction of my apartment. So sometimes I'll run in there. Yeah. But I think honestly, I feel like it's a junk store. It's not like it has some prestige brands. Everything in the middle is like a makeshift kind of like beauty supply store, lots of hair products and like, I don't know. I'm not. And then it's like drugstore stuff. So I'm kind of like, well, I could go to CVS for this and it's more organized. I don't know. I'm not a huge, I know a lot of people seem to prefer Ulta over Sephora. I don't know why. I think Sephora is just easier to navigate, but whatever. So anyway, I went into Ulta to get Lewis some, I use Clinique for Men. Actually, I'm going to add that to my list. If your man needs a really nice skincare line and has maybe combination skin, which is what Lewis had, I got him the Clinique for Men. It's a hydrogel and it's just a moisturizer. His skin is completely gorgeous and glowing. Like his skin is literally, he just went to the dermatologist last week and his dermatologist was like, wow, your skin looks amazing. Like, what are you doing?
That's great.
And he's like, Clinique for Men. My wife found it for me. So a little bit of a scrub and from Clinique as well. And then the hydrogel, it's great. So anyway, I was going into Ulta for that. And they had this brand new big Chanel display right in the front of the store. And
Mm-hmm.
they had not carried Chanel there until this moment. So I guess Chanel just cut a deal or recently cut a deal with Ulta stores. So they had this whole display of Chanel #1, and it's a foundation and it's a moisturizer. It's a whole line. And
Right.
so I was looking for something that was a little bit more coverage than the Charlotte Tilbury Light Wonder, which is fine, but it's just not enough, and it kind of swipes off your face easily. So I was really looking for a new foundation, and I asked one of the girls working there, and I said, so I'm open to trying whatever. Give me a sample of whatever, because I didn't want to commit to a whole bottle. And she was like, you really need to try the Chanel #1. It's incredible. And it literally is. It is the best foundation I've ever used. I absolutely love it, love it, love it. It's slightly on the matte side for me. So I add from Dior Show, they have glow drops. So I add a few glow drops, mix it in, and then it gives you the perfect coverage and a little bit of that glow. But it is incredible. So Chanel #1. Now, one thing I will say, because I also bought the Chanel #1 moisturizer, that was terrible. So, and I'm sure it just didn't work on my chemistry with my skin, but
so much of it is personal with your skin and all that.
But the Chanel #1, the moisturizer, it pilled all over my face immediately, which drives me nuts.
Ugh,
it had
I hate that.
It supposedly, I don't know what the scent was, but it was so heavily fragranced, and it's a flower that's the main, some red carnelia flower, something like that is the name of it, that where they draw, all the science from for this line. It was way too strong of a smell for me for moisturizer. And when it's on your face, you're just smelling it all day long. So that was a turn. I did not like that. But
Chanel #1, I got to try it. Maybe that'll be on my list of things to try this year.
Yeah.
Because right now I'm doing the NARS thing. That's still my #1 foundation and I love it. But I'm always up to try something new just to see. You always want to test.
Of course.
Test the other options out there.
And especially when new stuff comes out. Chanel has had foundation obviously for years. But this apparently, because I started to read up on like the science behind it and why it's a different formula and all this other stuff. And the nice thing about it, because you and I both tend to have like, some dry, sensitive skin.
Right.
I wear makeup like once a week. And so I always end up sleeping in my makeup. The next day after using this foundation, my skin feels like I had just moisturized it. So
that's awesome.
It's really good. It is a little pricey. I think it's in the 70s, in the $70 rate, $75, something like that.
But with foundation, I think that's one of your investment pieces because you aren't using a ton of it. If you use it in the right way and if it's a good formula, it's going to last you for several months. Yeah. So if you are going to invest, that's the kind of the place where you want to go. You want that really good foundation and that canvas for what you're going to put on next.
And you don't need that much because it is medium coverage, so a little bit does go a long way. So I just use it with a stippling brush and it looks natural and I'm very, very happy with it. That's my #1 purchase from 2022. When I returned the Chanel #1 moisturizer, there was another girl at Ulta who helped me, and I said, this is just not working for me. And she said, well, I have really sensitive skin and I use the Hydra line from Chanel. Okay. And I said, okay, I'll try that. That's wonderful. And I use that all the time and I love it. It's a gel cream. So it has a really cool and very cooling kind of texture to it. And so it kind of, it goes on. I mean, yeah, it's like a 50-50 split between a gel and a light cream moisturizer. And so it absorbs really well. The next day I still feel moisturized, I still feel hydrated. So it'll be an interesting test. Right now it's so warm I'm in New Jersey and on the East Coast, and it's so warm right now. We haven't had winter yet. We had 2 days that were really cold on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And other than that, it's in the 60s today. So,
oh my gosh, that's warmer than where I am.
I know, right? It's kind of wild. So I haven't tested the gel cream yet in like really cold weather, because I tend to, my skin lets me know right away, this is not enough moisture, or,
yeah, we're drying out here.
Yes, you got to go for the big guns. And then I'll go to like the night cream, like that's when you have dry skin, is if you're wearing night cream during the day in the winter.
For sure.
So that's kind of what has happened to me. But those are my 2 picks for the year. And, props to Chanel. I mean, they made me a believer, and I have been the biggest skeptic, especially of Chanel, really. And, when Karl Lagerfeld was running things, I was like, this is just, it feels like a money grab to get into that beauty space. And Victoria Beckham is very deliberate with and intentional with her products as she rolls them out, and it just felt like the house of Chanel was just like, let's do this. Let's do jewelry.
Trying to get into the main and just make some money.
Yeah. Yep. But whoever's in charge of beauty,
I'm glad to know, because I have been intrigued by their packaging and their ads. And so I'm really glad that you've tried it out, because I do want to try that foundation. My mom really likes that's Dior, actually. The Dior, the lip gloss. It's not Chanel though. It's the Dior. Have you tried that one? It's a really beautiful case, and it's a sheer lipstick. And she is a huge fan. She's got that for Christmas, speaking of holidays, and was so excited because it's expensive. These more designer brands are expensive, but she's a huge fan of that light semi-sheer lipstick that they have. But wrong
is it
brand,
the one with no, it's fine. Is it the one like you pull the tube up and it has like a little knob at the top of the tube?
Yep.
Yeah, I have one of those in like a very sheer pink. I like a lot of the Dior lip stuff. Every time
it's good stuff.
Yeah, and every time, like when we went to the Gracie Awards last May, I wanted to do a nude lip because I was doing more like a charcoal kind of eye or whatever. And I went through every possible nude shade in the entire Sephora. I had a very patient Sephora employee helping me. And we ended up back at Dior 3 different times. And that's eventually what I got. And so I think the Dior lip stuff is amazing. And I do like the Dior show, the glow drops. Unfortunately, the one I have right now, I realized this weekend, is a little too yellow for me. So I have to go and get a different shade to match the Chanel shade. But, and just for a point of reference, if you guys ever see me on Instagram, and I have pale skin. So of the Chanel #1, oh, I was right. It's Red Camellia. That's the flower. I use BR42, which is Beige Rose 42. That's the...
Okay.
Just for, because they have a whole list of, all different letters for the undertones.
You're smart to go match up too in the store. I think a lot of times we spend so much time and energy picking the wrong color online because those swatches are almost impossible.
And I know Kylie Jenner kind of started it with the arm, everything, which is somewhat helpful when you see a shade, of lip gloss or eyeshadow or whatever on someone's arm. Yeah. But that's not really, like, my arm is a different color than my face because I have a lot of redness in my face.
My underarm, which is what they use all the time, they use the inside of your arm.
Yeah.
That inside of my arm is several shades whiter than anything on my body, including my face. Right. And I put sunscreen on that religiously every single day.
Yeah.
This is like this. I don't even know what this is. It's like an underbelly of skin that just never... I've tried to tan it. It just doesn't do it. I've even self-tanning.
I think
I can't get this.
I'm the same way. Like my outer arms, I can tan, but the inner, the inner arm, like the inner forearm,
it's like a stripe.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, exactly.
I always wonder. I mean, I think they're doing it there because they're trying to compare that to what your face looks like. But my face is even darker than that.
I can't do that. It doesn't work. So I end up having to be in the store trying something on. I always make sure, like if you're at Sephora, they have those makeup mirror counters in the middle of the store. Yeah. You can use that. That's fine. And then walk over to the window, bring a handheld mirror and see what it looks like with natural daylight. Because I have fallen victim to being in a dark or dim department store, Saks Fifth Avenue, looking at you. And I've bought, because it's a beautiful store, but it's very dimly lit inside. It's a really old building. And I have literally bought so many different products and I've walked out thinking I feel and look great. And I look like a clown in daylight. So you've got to
look at multiple lights for sure. That's why those mirrors, as much as they're kind of annoying, you see them on influencers all the time, but the different lights,
lighting is everything.
Because we're in different light every day. We're in offices where it's overhead, terrible fluorescent light, outside light. And look, you're not going to be perfect in every single one or any of them. Maybe you won't be perfect, but you can try to at least see what there's no surprises.
Yes.
Because it makes a huge difference.
It does. And you can also tell when you hit the natural light, if you need more warmth, if you need to add some bronzer, to sort of warm up your whole face. It's so important. So just make sure. That's one of the reasons why I like Sephora, because they are well lit. They do have multiple sources of light, including windows. I mean, unless it's in a mall, but even in the mall, you can walk out into the main area and get a better sense of what
just get a different look.
Yeah. So that's
a good tip for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my 2022. Those my beauty purchases that I've liked the most. What are you even a person who thinks about like resolutions and the new year. What do you want to do? Like, I'm not
more
typically
facials.
That's a great goal. I am typically
I don't even
not
know
a person.
if I got one this year. This last year, I feel like I don't think I even got one.
I got
facial
2
this
hydrofacials last year. And then the second half of the year, I did nothing. So yes, hydrofacials especially, I know it's an investment, but I'm telling you, one hydrofacial can change the world. It will change your world.
That's really my top as far as beauty goals go.
And especially since we have dry, sensitive skin, there's no heat. It's all cool water. It feels incredible. And the amount of gunk and dead skin that is just missing at the end of it, you're like, oh my God. Yeah. That was my best beauty splurge of 2022 for sure.
I need to do the hydrofacial.
Yeah, you will love it.
That's for me, the downtime, the quiet time is really important. And I need to be better to my skin. I'm better about being more consistent with my skincare. But I just want to take it to the next level this year and just schedule like quarterly. Maybe even I'll aim for twice a year. And if I can do quarterly, I'll be loving life. But
sure.
At least I can put that on my list of things. What about you? What are you working on?
I think facials is that's a great answer.
Isn't that a fun one?
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. I think I just want to be more consistent. In one of the episodes we did at the end of last year, we were talking about, I didn't know that that it had a name, but it's called skin cycling. And so it's every night because we were talking about our nighttime routines. And so every night, if you do something different, you do a retinol one night, you do I call them moisture bomb the next night, or glycolic, whatever it is. So dermatologists call that skin cycling. I need to be more consistent with my skin cycling. And I really I'm almost at the point where I might put a little calendar whiteboard next to my sink so I can write,
cute. Yeah.
And just be like R for retinol and, M for moisture bomb, and just so you know where you are. Because I have the best of intentions every week. Like Sunday night, I tried to do a big glycolic treatment, and then it's like by Tuesday, I've forgotten what I've already done. I know. It's like I need to have it charted. And I bet if I gave myself like a 30-day challenge of charting all of the different skin cycles that I'm doing, I bet I would see some good results. Because it's the consistency.
You should try it. We should do a month of that.
Yeah. It's the consistency that is really what works the best. There is no one miracle product that you use it once and your whole face is a different person's face. It's the consistency.
Unfortunately, that's not the case. It was like when we did our lip episode. They're not going to blow up overnight, those lip injectors.
Right.
It's just a product, right? We're just working with what God gave you. But if we are consistent, I noticed a huge difference when I started doing my skincare every night. A huge difference.
And nighttime especially.
You just got to stick with it.
Yeah, and nighttime especially because that's when, your liver's flushing out toxins, which your skin has toxins. So the nighttime is really when you want to use wine, vodka, all that stuff.
Exactly, all that stuff.
Yeah, you really want to make sure that the nighttime is when you're using all the expensive stuff, because that's when it's going to you're going to get your most bang for your buck when you're doing it at night. And most of the time, I don't even do anything in the morning, so maybe that's something I could also add in. And I just like that the Chanel, the Hydra gel cream. I slap that on during the day, and that's all I do. So
that's pretty good.
But it has, one of the things that I did that I was impressed with the Chanel stuff, and one of the reasons why it kind of sold me, is that there are a lot of clinical results and a lot of clinical trials that they did. And so and that's important. I think people tend to overlook that, but those clinical trials are actually the resource of their third-party data. When they send out, when they're in a lab, it is very scientific in that sense. Some brands are more science-forward than others. I didn't really ever think that Chanel would be a science-forward brand, but after reading what this whole line with the red camellia flower, and they've been studying it for 20 years and stuff. I mean, there's a lot of science there, and I feel like I can tell in the difference that it makes when I've had it on my skin for a day or, 12 hours or whatever. So I definitely think that the science part of it has caught up with the beauty part of the brand.
What they're selling. Exactly.
So if I'm using hydrogel during the day, I know that there's a lot of science behind that. And I can tell because by the end of the day, my skin feels better than it did in the morning.
When you started.
Yeah.
No, I think a lot of products have caught up. I have been following, I think I told you, have been following this discontinued makeup Instagram.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so it shows us all the old skincare and makeup like
so
that I
fun.
grew up with.
Yeah.
And it's so fun to see. But I look at all of these like claims with these products and I thought, you're onto something. I think the science is actually finally caught up to beauty, because there was a lot of stuff they sold us that was not feeling very good on your skin.
And they didn't put the money into the research. That's why
Right.
I would never trust a brand like, until recently, but I wouldn't trust a fashion house to invest, because they're putting their money in leather goods. They're putting their money in things that cost $11,000 to buy a bag. They're not dumping their money into research and development for a foundation. They know, if you're an Emily in Paris fan, which I've been binging season 3, it's so good. But they know that these big fashion brands understand that if someone can get a piece of Chanel for $60 in a bottle of foundation, they're going to go out and buy it, because you still feel like you've got a piece of Chanel. So what would be the incentive to actually put science into it? Now we're at a point where the beauty market is so saturated, and there are brands coming from South Korea all the time, and new brands, from Paris that have never left Paris. There are friends, I have some friends who live in Europe, and they go to, Boots, which is like CVS in England, and they're getting these, what we over here call the French pharmacy brands.
Yeah, all the incredible stuff.
And they're incredible products, and they're cheap. Yeah. They're not expensive, and they are amazing products. So I think it's been a good incentive for bigger fashion houses to go, okay, we got to dump some more actual money into some research here and development.
We can't be outdone by the Boots brand, which is what was happening.
It's totally true. Yeah. Everybody was like, oh, well, I'll just go to CVS and just buy, Maybelline or L'Oreal or whatever. And because those companies, that's their bread and butter. They have to put more into it. So
it's all they do.
So that's my lecture on the beauty industry.
I love it.
But one last thing before we go. So speaking of, how you were saying like stuff, back in time, and like, they made all these promises and stuff. Okay. I'm transitioning here. It's a hard transition, but we just watched the Miss Cleo documentary.
Oh, call me now.
Yes.
That lady?
Yes.
I love her.
Okay. So is
she alive or is she dead?
She is no longer with us.
Okay.
I believe she passed away which I learned during the documentary. I did not know that she was not still alive, but she died at age 53, and she had cancer, and I believe it was like in 2016 or 2017. But what I will say is, I love a good documentary. I love a documentary. It's not necessarily true crime, but there was some, shenanigans in there.
There was stuff.
There was stuff. And naturally, it's like, the two old white guys at the top who were the schemers and scamming people. And she was pretty much a victim of her contract. And there's a whole lot in there. But I had no idea. I didn't know anything about her. She was just the call me now. Like, that's it. Like,
I loved it.
I mean, the Psychic Friends Network, right? Or was it? No,
that was her.
Was it the Psychic Friends? No, that
she
was
wasn't
Dionne
Psychic
Warwick.
Friends. That was like Dionne Warwick.
She was in the Psychic Readers Network or something. PRN, okay. I think, because they were talking about that a lot. And it's an expose, just in case you've ever called, a psychic hotline. It's an expose on what you're actually getting and who's behind the phone calls.
It can't be anybody worth it, right?
They're not
a call center.
Yeah, it's a call center, and they have a script, and no one's an actual psychic, and But so it's very entertaining.
Shocking.
I know, right? So it's entertaining in that sense, but it's also very it's very illuminating about Miss Cleo herself. And I don't want to spoil anything. But she had a very interesting life, and there was a lot more. Yes. Like Lewis and I were looking at each other. I'm like, I love when a documentary, you think it's going to go one way and then it goes the other way. It's, it zags instead of zigs. And I'm like, oh my God, this kind of blew my mind. It's good. Yeah.
All right.
But I said to Lewis,
Mama Cleo.
I said to Lewis, I go, all I ever think of is Jen doing call me now. Like,
call me now.
See, you have like her exact tone.
That lady, I loved her on those infomercials. I never called that one. When I was a young kid, though, I don't know, because I'm like, I think, what am I, 2, 3, 4 years older than you? I don't even know.
We're in the same rowboat.
So Jean Dixon, do you remember her?
Mm-hmm.
Your mom will. Fancy Nancy.
No, I know who
Jean
she
Dixon.
is. Okay, you're going to laugh. I know who she is because she appeared on an episode of Golden Girls.
That's probably right, because that was her heyday. It was the late 80s, and she was Ronald Reagan's astrologist, actually.
Okay, so so that makes sense too, right? I knew he had an astrologer that he was.
Nancy was into it. Nancy was
yeah,
big into the astrology.
Yeah,
and Ronald Reagan and I shared the same birthday, so maybe I should. I don't know. Maybe she was extra accurate.
It's you, Ronald Reagan, Bob Marley,
Zsa Zsa Gabor, and Axl Rose.
But isn't also, I know Bill Gates.
We're a motley crew.
Bill Gates is also in February. He's an Aquarius. So is Oprah.
He's not on my birthday, but he's probably an Aquarius.
Richard Branson. Anyway. The Aquarians are the philanthropists of the zodiac. So that's why all of them are
we're the suckers, is what you could call us. But my mom would allow me every once in a while to call Jean Dixon, because she would call Jean Dixon. And then I would want to call Jean Dixon. Was it
actually her on the phone?
It was a recorded message.
Oh.
And I thought to myself, this woman's really raking it in. All you have to do is read 12 horoscopes every day, right? And then all of a sudden, you're just raking in the dough. People call for Aquarius, press 1.
Oh.
For Capricorn, press 2. And then you just hit your thing and you're getting your astrology reading. Well, of course, I don't think we could even press it. We probably had to use the old dial, the zinc.
Well, the thing that's interesting with Miss Cleo and with all of those, I don't think Jean Dixon ever got in trouble. I don't think she ever did anything.
She didn't. No, it was just horoscopes on the phone. That's all it was.
Yeah. The thing about
because that's what people did before the interwebs, before you could just look up your horoscope.
Right. The thing that's interesting about the Miss Cleo stuff is the Federal Trade Commission got involved because they were making, even though they had like this little disclaimer at the bottom of the screen, apparently, that said like for entertainment purposes only or something like that. It was not enough.
I believe they took them down, actually. Didn't the FTC take them down?
Yep. They agreed to, they sent out all these like collection notices to people and people couldn't afford it. They had a couple $100 for one phone call. Like it was extortion. But, yeah, it's an interesting story. And it was like right at that time, in the late, I guess it was mid to late 90s. Right?
I guess that's about right.
Yeah, like late 90s, maybe even around the year 2000, 2001.
When people would still call because you weren't doing that online and you wanted a psychic. You thought you were getting a psychic.
Right. And it's, and it's also sad because there are a lot of elements to it. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but I had no idea, like, her personal story was really interesting. I think you would like it a lot.
Sad? Was it a sad story?
Sad and happy and joyous. It just really interesting. But, like, just stuff I had no idea about her, I mean, I don't think anyone
none of us
really
knew anything
knew.
Except she would wear that like gypsy. I don't even know if we can say gypsy. Is that PC? But she had like a gypsy headband on.
She was Jamaican with the Caribbean accent. That's also in there.
Then she had the accent. She'd have the crystal ball, but she'd have the weird scarf thing tied. It was it was the whole thing.
Well, the accent gets addressed.
Oh, so she's not even. Call me now.
Call me now. Yeah, it's
Am I just as Jamaican as she is? Is that what we're funny?
That would be a good guess.
Not Jamaican at all. All right,
I believe her attorney's answer was, it was the most brilliant 2 sentences of nothing, and she's as Jamaican as anyone else who identifies as Jamaican. I mean, it was like this.
That.
It was
when
like
they go to the identifying as something. Yeah, that's
and this
good.
is back way before anybody, was using the term "I identify as this" or that.
That's so funny.
So yeah, I mean, it was it's a really good documentary. It's on HBO Max, and it is definitely worth checking out. And I think it's just called "Call Me Now." So
that's
it's
so
the
amazing.
Miss Cleo story.
I'll have to do it.
Yeah,
Miss Cleo
it's worth
Mama
it.
Cleo.
You watch it with your mom,
because
your mom will remember you wanting to call Jean Dixon
all the time. Can we call?
Wasn't Jean Dixon's? Am I making this up? I feel like my mom told me once that Jean Dixon's sister was Dear Abby. Is there a connection there, or am I making that up?
Gosh, that sounds vaguely familiar. I don't know. We'll have to look that up.
Ask your mom. I feel like your mom would know.
We should, we'll call a mom and we'll figure out if that's true or not. I know there was some, Dear Abby wasn't she Ann Lanter's sister? I don't know. We sound like we're too young for this conversation. Maybe we'll have to look it up.
It's always good to sound too young for a conversation.
Ann Landers, Dear Abby, and Mama Cleo and Jean Dixon. How about that?
I think I'm feeling 30.
I know.
Which is fine with me. All right. Thank you guys.
I'll take it.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Have a very, very happy new year. And thanks for supporting us. And we're excited to have Jen bust open all her Christmas gifts and test out all those new products. And of course, we'll always bring you our pop culture suggestions for what to stream and what to watch. Call me now.
Like the Golden Girls.
That's
Golden
mine
Girls. For the year.
It's a new little hot show that no one's discovered yet.
That's
called
right.
The Golden Girls.
A hot foursome, bigger than the Beatles.
And I say hot because they're all in menopause.
Right. Literally warm.
Right.
Literally.
So thank you guys so much. We will talk to you next week.